It is certainly possible. There is a lot of talk around about it at the moment. And of course, the Israelis and the Americans have already struck Iranian targets. And in fact, the British have as well. When Israeli missiles were fired at Israel last year, the Royal Air Force helped the Americans and others to shoot them down. So there is precedent to this. At the moment, how likely is it? I think there is a lot of information, intelligence coming out of Israel that the Israelis and the Americans have been planning for some time to attack targets in Iran, and most especially the nuclear weapons program. Nuclear proliferation has been a real problem in the world over the last few years. And Iran, as the center of the axis of evil, if you like, has been key to that. The Iran nuclear weapons program has been well documented, and there have been various treaties to try and limit them. But at the moment, those are not being adhered to. There seems to be pretty good intelligence and in the open source that the Iranians are enriching uranium-233 and have the centrifuges to do that, to make it into what we call weapons-grade nuclear material. And that is enriched to plus of 90%. Some reports say that the Iranians are pretty close to doing that. It is also clear that the Iranians have a very sophisticated missile program. In other words, they probably have a missile that can deliver a warhead. So the next stage after you've enriched uranium is to create a warhead. Now, that's not an insignificant task and will take time. However, it's also very clear that the Iranians and the Russians work very close together. And Iran has provided Russia with a lot of military equipment in their illegal invasion of Ukraine, mostly drones. But it's also likely that Russia is providing nuclear technology and know-how to Iran. So there is the potential that Iran, if nothing happens, has its own viable nuclear capability in the next few months, possibly years. So the avowed intent of Israel has always been to neutralize Iran, and Iran proxies like Hamas, Hezbollah, and the Houthis have created mayhem in the region and mainly focused on attacking Israel and US assets. So the rumors and the talk going around that Iran that will be attacked by the US and Israel, I think that there is a possibility that that will happen. Well, I think there are two things to look at here. First of all, is this a good thing to do? Well, negotiation has not prevented Iran's drive to get a nuclear capability. At the moment, Iran does not have a nuclear capability. What it has is a number of sites, particularly around the second city, Isfahan, where it is known in the public domain that the Iranian weapons program is. It would be easier and possible, I expect, for the Israelis and the Americans to take out these sites now before Iran has created a viable nuclear weapon. So from a purely military tactical perspective, it is probably the right time to do it. And as far as the ability to actually take these sites out, it is quite likely. In the Sun's report detailing this, the Israeli sources are saying that Israel has already taken out a number of anti-aircraft sites. And of course, that is crucial to allow jets and missiles to hit their target. So there appears to be a lot of preparation of the battlefield, as we call it, to enable such a strike. So I would expect that the US in particular, supported by the Israelis, have the military capability to take out the Iranian nuclear weapons program. Well, of course, this is a very high-risk strategy, and of course, it could backfire. However, I think one has to look from the widest perspective globally. What are Iran's allies going to do? I mean, its main allies are the Russians although that seems to be a relationship purely on swapping of military capability. Maybe the North Koreans, maybe the Taliban in Afghanistan. So it doesn't seem that Iran's adversaries would be able to have much of an impact. Whatever Russia decides to do, I think that is key. What is interesting is that President Trump seems happy to support the Israelis to take out an aggressor like Iran, but not at the moment the Russians, who are causing a massive threat to Europe. It may well be that actually the Jewish lobby in the United States has been very key to Trump coming to power and very key to the support of his party. That seems to be the way that Trump does business now. So we shall see. As far as the actual attack itself creating problems, it would, with my background in nuclear defense, attacking these laboratories would not create a nuclear explosion, nuclear chain reaction. Certainly, there may well be some radiation and fallout sort of in the local areas, so it could well impact on people who live close to it, but not a major nuclear explosion. So it will, of course, denude the Iranians, but the Israelis have already pretty much destroyed most of the Iranian proxies like Hezbollah and Hamas, and the Houthis have been hit hard at the moment. So it's very difficult to see how the Iranians could react against the Israelis and the Americans at the moment. It's certainly Iran is the head of the terror snake, pretty much, certainly from the jihadist perspective around the world. Although they might not have a very close relationship with the Islamic State groups, they certainly control Hezbollah, Hamas, and the Houthis, who are a significant threat to the Americans, the Israelis, and the West. And if the Iran is dealt a major blow, then their ability to support these countries, again, the relationship with Russia is probably going to be very important here. But in the same way, Trump has transactional relationships with people. The Russian relationship with Iran seems to be very transactional, and one doesn't expect that the Russians would come, steaming down from the north to help the Iranians if they're attacked. I hope also that this is a strong message to Moscow and Putin as well, that America is prepared to strike and take out tyrants like the mullahs in Tehran and like Putin. It might well be a very salutary lesson to him, but it may well that there will be consternation, no doubt, in the Middle East from some of the other major Gulf countries, but on the whole, many see the Iranians and their rule of terror as the problem, the reason for such instability in the Middle East. So, yeah, there might be a few voices raised in the Middle East, but one wouldn't expect any sort of military reaction from states in the Middle East.